Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, all in the wrong order. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Jason's Take On podcast with myself, Jason Noble, here in London, the 1st of December, and my partner in crime, Mr. Whitehead, over in the US. Say hello, Jason.
Hello, Jason.
We are today talking about the world of customer success operations or customer operations and why it's so critical to businesses and why we've seen, I think, for the right reason, the right shift and priority given to it. And we're really lucky. We've got another guest with us today. We've got Deborah or Debs Andrews. Debs is the director of the customer office operations over at Unit 4, where she works across all the post-sales functions alongside leading customer success operations and the digital team. She's a customer success leader that I'm sure lots of our listeners will know. She's got around 15 years or so experience building out customer-centric operations management, innovation, and customer success performance management. She's also worked with some really big names in the world of customer success, the likes of Gainsight, which we all know, and Salesforce. Her mantra, and I love this because this really aligns with my way of thinking, is success for all. And her approach is really focused about enabling others to be successful. And that just aligns with my way of thinking about us being responsible for someone else's success as CS leaders. So Debs, a big welcome. Fab to see you again. It was great to catch up a few weeks back. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you. Really excited to be talking to you today.
Excellent. Well, could you just tell our listeners a little bit about your own journey in CS operations, why you've made that move and the different areas that you're focusing on today?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll give you a little bit of background into how I've evolved along my career, because as we know, CSMs and now CS ops, you can come from a varied background, and that explains how I've gotten to where I am today. I think my career history to date, I started my career in sales management, moved on to support management, then operations management. So it was already all encompassing. It was around about 2007, I actually stumbled across this seemingly unknown company. I don't know if you Salesforce, right? So they were a bit smaller back in 2007 than they are today. But I say that was pretty much when everything changed for me. So I went from being very function specific to becoming a hands-on techie, analyst, administrator, project manager, literally
everything.
Self-developed every skill that I could under the sun to be able to implement a CRM system across an organization single-handed. It was quite a small organization, but such a varied, expansive role that actually I think that experience spoiled me in a little way. I basically find it now quite challenging to operate just within a specific function. So this whole philosophy surrounding the customer success management, not just being a function, actually resonates really strongly with me. And it's an opportunity for me to go, yes, I want to have all of my fingers in all of the pies and help consolidate and transform organizations. Yeah, so I think that was the changing point for me. But I transitioned from working in that capacity in end users to the ISV space, as you mentioned, working with Gainsight, Salesforce, and Sage within customer success management. So progression into CS ops just felt it was perfectly natural for me to go back to my operational roots and combine that with experience on the ground of being a CSM. It just added value behind being able to focus on operations and digitization, but with a degree of empathy, having engaged from an end user, from a vendor perspective, and a broad spectrum of functions.
I love that story and that natural evolution into a role. I think a lot of us that have got a bit of experience here, that's how we've come into it, but you get that, particularly with organizations like Salesforce and joining there. Wow, you must have seen some growth to where they are now. The same with Gainsight, but that broader experience. And like you say, with your sales hat on as well, seeing everything and then seeing the value that the world of customer success can bring to a business, but also this newer area around customer success ops, absolutely phenomenal. If we take a step back and going back to basics, what do you define customer success ops as, and how do you see it as having come about over recent years, and how do you think it fits into the wider revenue ops and commercial ops?
Yeah, I think CS ops really, for me, answers the question that most businesses raised when customer success management functions were formed. CSMs were performing one-to-one activities and driving value for each customer on a case-by-case basis. And I think businesses generally asked at that point, as it was gaining traction, how on earth can we scale? And how can I measure? How do I know if it's actually working? It seems to be doing a good job, but I think most companies at that point actually decided, rightly or wrongly, that investing into a CS tool was the solution to all of their problems, right? They needed to scale things, so the technology will do it. And I had, at Gainsight, the privilege of partnering with some customers as a CSM on that basis back in 2018. I remember thinking back then that most of the customers that I was engaging with would actually benefit from having someone in place helping them make the changes needed to be able to take full advantage of the tools. Turns out I wasn't the only one thinking that at that point. But yeah, and I think it's widely accepted now by businesses. It's most certainly a combination of tools, people and processes that have to be in place and working in harmony across an organization to be able to realize those value points, both from a human and digital perspective. And I think that's ultimately what CS Ops works to achieve, right? They are the interface between customer success function and the end customers and the business operations.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting, like even back 5 years ago, very few people were even talking about it. CS Ops as a separate discipline. It's like, oh, we need to get some processes or let's get some playbooks done, but they weren't really thinking about it in the same way that they are now. And it seems like now there's been a big shift where there's a lot of acceleration for CS Ops. What's your take on what's driving that change and that pivot?
I think for me, CS Ops is transformational. It's not just about change management, etc. It's really aligned with the philosophy behind customer success, putting the customer at the forefront of the business. And I think, Jason, back to your point on what's the difference between CS Ops and revenue operations, difference it has as compared to a standard operations role, and why it can transform organizations is because it actually services the customer's needs over and above the business needs, which I actually think is a bit of an oxymoron, really, because we're talking about the same thing. The customer's needs are actually the same as the business needs. Both want to work in partnership, both want return on investment, both want to be successful with the product and use it in anger, both want to grow, both want to innovate, right? And I think businesses are now questioning why we weren't actually doing that before, because it makes complete sense. And I think this is where CS Ops leans into revenue ops. It helps bring that customer centricity to the organization and tie it to the overarching business outcomes like net revenue retention. In my case, at the moment, CS Ops tracks the retention and expansion motion KPIs, but they are linked to churn rates and net revenue retention that revenue ops reports and analyzes. So we complement each other, we meet in the middle, and if changes and enhancements are needed, then we collaborate on those initiatives together. So it really is actually making the business stronger and connecting all of the dots internally, which is in itself transformational.
I think that's the key thing. It really is. Like I say, it's not a standalone service. It's a key part of a broader function. And it is, I've seen businesses where it becomes part of a wider operations team, like you say, with revenue ops, with commercial ops, and even marketing or sales ops, or whatever we call them. What do you think? I've also seen businesses where CS Ops maybe starts as, we just need to put a person here to just install the customer success management platform or something. But for you, what do we need to do customer success ops? What makes a customer success ops team and function really stand out?
Yeah. I think, to me, in my experience and my background, I've been there, got the t-shirt and put all of those different hats on. So for me, it feels like common sense now. But I get a general sense from what I've seen and heard, CS Ops roles can be anything in between a broad and narrow and some are more data admin focused, some are more technical solution focused, purely management focused, and it really does depend on the business needs and existing resources that are in place. But for me, there's three sort of key learnings, I'd say, in my experience. And the first one would be awareness and alignment. And one thing I've learned, particularly over the past few years, you can achieve great things in CS Ops when you have access to the right resources, right? But if it's not visible and accepted across every facet of the organization, it immediately becomes siloed. There's limited capacity to scale, and it's often unsustainable. Someone changes something somewhere, didn't realize you were doing something with the tool, the infrastructure changes, and you're on a break-fix basis, and it's just a vicious cycle. So I'd say make sure that you share the love across your organization, identify stakeholders, and take them on the journey with you. Focus on this up front, and then your life will just become so much easier down the line as you look to mature and drive further transformations and innovation.
Have you gone through a similar journey there at Unit 4? Did you come in, it was unknown, and you've helped build it up?
Yeah, I think I've worked in varied types of organizations, so not industry specific. I've worked in very small companies where you literally, Bob next to you is doing PS and you know exactly what each other are doing. You've got sales just over the way, you've got support just around the corner. So in that environment, it's just everything is just seamless by nature. But I've also currently in the role that I'm in today, it's a very complex matrix organization. So we have global functions, around about 2,500 people, regional presidents as well that have their own level of operations, work across verticals, etc. So to actually align and engage and keep everyone up to date with what's happening can be a real challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. How big do you think an organization needs to be before they can justify having a dedicated CS ops role? Or
I think it depends on how customer centric they are. And I do feel like I've seen some revenue operations roles or sales operations role. When you look at the descriptions, they really are talking customer success ops, right? Because it all depends on the kind of organizational structure really that ties. But yeah, it's very vast, very varied. I think I wouldn't say there's any particular recommendation. No, from an administrative perspective, they say, oh, for 80 users that you have in a tool that you should have one administrator, but that's pure administration, right? So I think the velocity and the degree of change needed within your organization, irrespective of the size of your organization, should indicate whether or not you need, or what level of investment and support you need from a CS ops capacity.
When companies are starting to think then about it, so say you're starting to see the metrics come in, the data come in that suggests you need it, how do you go about taking that first step and building a team and actually getting the right people? Because it requires a certain type of individual, doesn't it?
Yeah, it requires a superhero, especially for your first ops hire. And I think this is where CSMs were back 10 years ago, is prove the value. And you're constantly trying to make good, get the references from the customer. If they buy more, then you're hugely successful and rewarded for that. Same goes really for operations. If there was going to be one superhero ops person that in your company, they'd need to be one of 5 parts: a 5th leader leading the vision across the company, a 5th manager managing the execution of that vision and journey, a 5th techie to actually build the solution and configure the tools or the resources that you have, a 5th analyst evaluating the results, making sure that you've defined what success looks like and that it's measurable, and then a 5th administrator to really ensure that it carries integrity and consistency through governance and controls.
It's fine then.
Oh, it's like your unicorn CSM. But
it is like, I love the way you describe it. It's like what CSM's, that department of everything. What we shouldn't be, but what we've started off some years back as. I can imagine as well, that's, say it's 5 ways, must vary and change over time. It fluctuates depending on what the need is.
Yeah, definitely. And also depends on the resources around you. So as I said, you've got to be resourceful, right? If you haven't got the answers or the skills, you need to find answers and skills, because it's just, as we're in scale mode, we are proving the value of it. There are moments where I'm an amazing data analyst and quite frankly, I haven't got much time to be doing that. So wherever I can, if I need some detailed analysis done, I will call in favors, I will ask people and tap into the resources that we've got around us to help support those aims.
Wow, that's great stuff. With all the focus on that, you bring up data as well too. What role does data fit with CS Ops, and how do you think about it relative to the other platforms and tools? And what does an organization need to do to make sure they're successful with their data and getting the information they need?
Yeah, data. We all love it, right? Love it and hate it. It's like Marmite. It's going to make or break us.
Put you on that.
I love Marmite, so I'll go with the love side.
Excellent. I'm another one. I'm a big fan of Marmite.
I think data underpins all digital transformation, and that's where companies are headed right now. Without definition, without governance, without measurement, without course correction, what would your level of confidence be in your customer 360 view? Would you be confident in automating an unsolicited journey or an interaction that helps, not hinders, the customer experience? I think this is all part of the digital hesitation, and again, where CS Ops can come in and really add value. I think CS Ops needs to drive scale, efficiency, insight, and it just can't be achieved with poor, incorrect, or missing data. This was the biggest turnoff actually for most companies straight out of the implementation of a CS tool, right? So their expectations of their own data was really high. and they'd been sold the dream. It can do this, these amazing things, if only you have the right data. And I think the reality actually sounded a bit like, yeah, our customer 360 is pretty rubbish. I can't trust any information in it, or our health measures only tell us part of the story, or the information looks good, but it doesn't match up to our finance system or our CRM system. So I think, or it could actually be that the data was so great and insightful, but it was actually just confined to the CSM function, and the CSM function weren't sharing it across the organization. So that's another perspective on it. Or maybe lots of insights were produced and shared, but the culture is so what, or I don't know what I'm looking at to be able to leverage it. And so I'm just going to go back to the way I've always done it before. CS Ops, it starts and ends with data, quite frankly. We need to be governing our customer information, making sure that it's accurate and relevant at all times for all business stakeholders who are expecting to rely on it. Our robots and our humans will be taking action on it, and our customer experience will most certainly be impacted by it. So yeah, I think we need some integrity to start off with. But again, the next layer, as we peel the onion and look at more root causes behind the insights that we're generating, I'm certainly investing more of my time at the moment into performing root cause analysis from our customer listening posts, and actually having that root cause analysis played back to key stakeholders across the business as part of the Voice of the Customer Council. And we tie that back to the financial impact of this feedback. And it really, really resonates across the organization and helps to drive accountability for the action that people need to take. So I think, CS Ops can govern those processes, really drive the insight production, yes, the technicals behind it, but it really does need strength behind driving it across the organization.
I think the insight that you've got there, working from organizations like Gainsight in the customer success kind of role and implementing these tools, is actually quite phenomenal. And I know you've got something that's quite unique, having seen these challenges that customers are facing, and I think gives you a really powerful perspective on the value of this role and function. Debs, this has been a superb conversation, really insightful. We always like to give our guests a bold challenge question. And the one for you is, as CS leaders, what's the one thing that we should be doing to focus really on CS Ops as we go into 2023?
Oh, can I think about that?
Yeah, you can think about it. No, we'll narrow it down to one. We like one.
Okay, what I think today might change tomorrow, but you never know.
That's all right, you could do that.
I would say sponsorship. The one thing that I've really actually been challenged by is the sphere of influence. And I've worked really hard to build up a profile and persona surrounding what CS Ops is and how it should be elevated in the organization. So when we try to drive accountability, it can often be a challenge because we can get pushback to say, you're just ops, right? So why should I listen to you, kind of thing? So I think sponsorship. CS leaders should absolutely sponsor, get behind CS Ops, and really help fight the cause and challenge the organization to do better in the face of the customer's needs and expectations.
Fascinating. Absolutely brilliant. Debs, a huge thank you. This has been for me listening, just hearing you, there's so much passion about it as well. So a big thank you.
Thank you so much.
And before we go, we always like to invite our guests to do a shameless plug, and Jason always forgets, so I'll throw it out there.
I'll wait for you to prompt me, Jason. I always wait for you to prompt.
So Debs, please go ahead and plug anything of passion or excitement to you, and let people know that they can get in touch with you if they have questions.
Yeah, no, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. You can just search for me. I'm more than happy to mentor people. I realise I've got a vast and varied background and some experience that I hope I can share the love with some other people. So feel free to get in touch with any questions. Also, if you enjoy yoga and you're around the Reading, UK area, I'm more than happy to spend a bit of time meditating. Always my best idea to come out when that happens. Yeah.
Do you combine the two? CS Ops and meditation.
Yeah. Oh, it's essential. Sorry, I should put that in my top tip.
Superb. Debs, thank you again. A really great conversation with you.
Thank you.